Happy hump day, EV people. Is it the end for Tesla? Are they done after their dismal earnings report yesterday? Hardly. Tesla's not going anywhere. And you know what else? EV Awesome starts right now. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hey, Tesla. They had their earnings report yesterday, and it wasn't the best. It was definitely not the best. I think the headline numbers are the fact that net income was down 55% year over year to 1.1 billion for the January to March period. And it's revenue was down 9% to 21.3 billion year over year. But the stock did tick up in after hours trading. And that's because, Elon announced that they're going to accelerate plans for their lower cost, more affordable model next year, which some people are saying it'll be called Model 2. I don't know what it'll be called. But that's definitely welcome news. I think that's kind of, that's a market Tesla needs to attack. They need to go after sort of the lower cost market. But, Model Y is kind of the core, right? That's always going to be the core. I think Cybertruck, I certainly wouldn't say Cybertruck is a failure by any means, and it's not going to go anywhere. They're going to keep making them. I don't think it was as big as they hoped it would be, like sales-wise. I think, publicity-wise, they made a ton of noise about it. I mean, there's tons of videos, and it gets attention everywhere it goes. If there's plenty of videos on YouTube that show the Cybertruck showing up somewhere and people going nuts over it, and can I take pictures and all that. And that's all great, but that doesn't mean people are going to buy it. I put in a reservation the day they threw that steel ball through the window in 2019. I was like, I want that thing. And I put in my reservation, and it came up about a month ago that I could order my Foundation Series Cybertruck. And I was like, pass. It is not something that I want anymore. It just doesn't do it for me anymore for whatever reason. I mean, it's cool. The 48 volt system, the steer by wire, it's all amazing stuff. Great technology. I just don't want it. And I think that might be the problem. I think there's a lot of people out there that probably feel like, if I was going to get an electric pickup truck, what would I get? An F-150 Lightning? Probably. Rivian? Heck yes. And I think that's maybe Tesla just like overshot on the design of the Cybertruck, which I still think is cool. I mean, I'm not knocking the design. I know it's weird and there's people either love it or hate it. I think it's super cool looking. But it is divisive. Whereas I think if you look at a Rivian R1T, I would say if you showed that to 100 people, at least probably 75% of them would say that they think it looks nice. Like it's a good design because, it's unique, but it's not from Mars. It's unique enough that if you're driving one, people are going to know, hey, what's that? Or they're going to ask you, what's that? But you're not going to draw a crowd everywhere you go, and it's not weird. I don't know. I think that's why the Model S, when it first came out, was such a success, because it was an electric car that didn't look bizarre. It just looked like a cool car. And the Model X, same thing. It was just like, I don't think call it an SUV. I know they call it that, but it's just a big 4-door car with gull-wing doors. I don't think of it as an SUV, but it didn't look bizarre. It didn't look like it was from another planet, right? And then when Model 3 and Model Y came, they were just sort of mini versions of the S and the X. And, some people say they look like rolling jelly beans or whatever, but fine. But they don't look strange and out of place and just weird. Like, I think that's the problem with the Cybertruck. It's just like, am I going to pay, 120 grand for a big hunk of stainless steel, despite the fact that it's an engineering marvel? No, I'll let other people do that. Yeah, a lot of people do that. But, despite the fact that this is probably going to be a rough year for Tesla, I don't think that you really have to worry. If you're a Tesla fan or a stockholder, they're coming back. I mean, Tesla's not going anywhere. They're still by far the dominant leader in EVs, certainly in North America. They're getting some pretty stiff competition from BYD in Asia and Europe. But I just think the technology is so good. The FSD is so good. Like, I don't know that robo taxi that they're going to announce later this year is really going to be ready for prime time just yet. I imagine that they're going to show it off, to maybe the design and talk about it. But I would imagine that you won't see a Tesla robo taxi anywhere on the road probably until, I would guess, 26 or 27 would be my guesstimate. There's still a lot of data to collect, and I think that's why when they slashed prices on the Model Y and X and S and 3 earlier or last weekend, and they cut the price of FSD, I think the reason they did that was to encourage more people to get it and use it so they can gather more and more data for that robotaxi, and to make FSD even better going into the future. Because, I mean, when you think about it, if let's say in 2027, you're looking to get a new EV, and you could get, let's say, an Ioniq 5. They'll probably have refreshed the design a little bit by then. Or, say, a Model 3 or a Model Y. The Model Y has full self-driving, which 3 years from now will probably be just about there, where you can almost, I'm not suggesting you should ever take a nap while you're driving your Tesla, but like you could. Like, it's going to be almost like a robotaxi at that point. You'll just tell it, here's where I want to go, and it'll take you. And there'll probably be very little, if any, need for human intervention at that point. And I don't think any of the other manufacturers, EV or otherwise, are even close to that. You know, a lot of people like Ford's Blue Cruise, but that only works on certain roads. I'm sure they'll expand that, but it's not as good. Nobody has technology quite as good as Tesla, and I think they're going to maintain that lead, and that's always going to be their differentiator. So when it comes to EVs, they're obviously, like I said, the dominant market leader. I don't think that's going to change. And EV sales, whether they sort of edge off a little bit this year or not, they're not going to go down. They're not going to go away. EVs are going to keep going. Just look at all the money being invested in DC fast charging all over North America these days. All that NEVI funded, all those NEVI funded chargers are starting to go into the ground more and more and more. If you watch the network Architect's channel every Friday, he posts all the new chargers that have gone online that week around the country. And every week there's more and more and more and more. So, and that's not going to change. That's going to continue. So I think, over the next couple of years, if you're a person that's driving an ICE car and you're like, I'd like to get an EV because it's clean and all that, but where am I going to charge it? How am I going to charge it if I'm on a road trip? If you start going to Pilot Flying J, or you're going to a Circle K station and you're looking over to your left or to your right and you're seeing EV chargers, it's going to start to sink in that, oh, there's charging. I will be able to charge it. And that breaks down one of the biggest barriers that people have to EVs, that they're afraid they won't be able to charge it. And I think more and more, as more of those chargers go online and they're more visible, it's one thing to hear about it, like, oh, this charger went in the ground here, that charger went in the ground in Ohio, there's another one in California or in Texas and Florida. But when you actually pull into a gas station, or you pull into a mall parking lot, whatever it is, and you see EV chargers, it registers like deeper in your brain that, oh, they're there, they're real. This is happening here where I live. It's not just something I hear about on the news. So I think that's, going to keep EVs going. And, 9 states already have said that in 2035, gas powered cars will not be sold in their states. They'll be banned in those states. I think more states will come along. And I think just those things alone, and the fact that the auto manufacturers, they're talking about hybrids right now, but I've said it a million times on this channel before. Hybrids are the gateway drug to EVs. So if car manufacturers right now are saying, well, we're pulling back a little bit on full electric to focus more on EVs, that's just their way of saying we can't shove EVs on people that aren't quite ready for it. But people do want hybrids. People are willing to try hybrids. And when they get into a hybrid and they drive it in EV mode only, EV only mode, and they realize this is way better than driving it in gas mode, right? And it's way better than a gas car. Their next car is probably going to be an EV, or maybe not their next car, but the one after. So again, hybrids are the gateway drug to EVs. EVs are the future. That's the way it is. Tesla will probably maintain their lead in the market for a long, long time. And so, Tesla's had down years before. They always come back. I think they always will. Love Elon or not, I think, you kind of need to separate Elon from Tesla, even though he's the CEO. If you don't like his political views or whatever, like, okay, I get it. I mean, I don't really care, but if you're someone that doesn't like what he's doing with X or whatever, that's not really a reflection. You shouldn't let that change your opinion on EVs or on Tesla because, I mean, Elon made EVs a thing. My electric car was not a thing until Tesla came along. Elon did that. So if you're somebody that cares about, climate change and the environment and electric mobility and clean mobility, separate Elon's political stuff from Tesla because the cars are still good. He's not building the cars himself. He's not the only one in the factory making the cars. There's a lot of really good people working really hard, and like brilliant engineers, designers, really smart, solid people that work at Tesla and that make these cars. And they're the ones who you should be supporting. So don't think of it like supporting Elon. That's like when you buy something from Amazon, you go, oh, I don't like Jeff Bezos. Who cares? Amazon is Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon. And what would we have done without them during the pandemic, right? So Tesla's not going anywhere. This is not the end. I know everybody these days thinks that you get one bad earnings report and the sky's falling, but then a year later you look up and the sky didn't fall. So stay true. Remember, EVs are awesome, and it's okay to be awesome. I'll see you guys next time.